Hi, my name's Itopher, and I'm not like other guys. I like pirates. Yeah, it's true, I'm another one of those extra virgin olive oil types who never really grew out of his 5-year-old obsession with them swashbuckling seafarers. I know it's hard to believe. This guy into pirates, but regardless, it is true. I love stories of long-lost treasures, I adore tales of the treacherous seas and the fiery kraken, and while I don't really love epic courtroom roast compilations that much, I do like to watch videos where people say the best Pirates of the Caribbean movie is the third one, so there is that. Look, the point I'm trying to make is that I think pirates are cool, and while that hasn't been a real winning anecdote for my dating profile, I know I'm not the only person out there that thinks that. So for the longest time, people like me have been asking, when are we going to get the definitive pirate video game? It's a question that I've seen asked 1,000 times throughout the years, and for good reason. For a long time there wasn't really much. The Monkey Island games captured the feel of being a pirate, but gameplay-wise were limited by their point-and-click format, and Assassin's Creed Black Flag moved one step closer, allowing you to sail the seas on a massive open-world map, but it was still a single-player game using a formula that has since completely oversaturated the market. What I and many other people have craved for a long time was something just a little bit grander, something that took the best aspects of the games that came before it and combined it with a little something else to make the perfect swashbuckling experience. What if you captured the vibes of the Monkey Island games, combined them with the open world design of Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and then open the seas to everyone? What if the next thing that you ran into might not just be another pirate, but another person? Alas, unfortunately, no one seemed to want to make it. Maybe it was the scope, maybe there just wasn't much interest for a pirate game, maybe it was easier to just keep making 1,000 zombie games a year and let the indies deal with the pirates. Regardless, it wasn't happening. But then, all of a sudden, hope. Ubisoft, makers of the aforementioned Assassin's Creed Black Flag, announced Skull and Bones, the pirate game that would surely satisfy all those looking to set sail on the open seas for adventure. It was announced at E3 2017 with a flashy cinematic reveal trailer, and the excitement was palpable. I mean, look at this trailer. They knew what they were doing. Ubisoft has a history of overhyping their games in their cinematic trailers, but surely if they were able to capture the essence of a pirate adventure this well in a trailer, they'd be able to replicate it for their own game as well. Skull and Bones was looking to be the pirate game we'd all been waiting for. A pirate game to end all pirate games. A game where you could conquer land and sea alongside your crew. This game was the chosen one. The one foretold in the prophecies long ago. And then they showed gameplay and we realized you couldn't get off the boat. Man, Ubisoft, this game really is going to make me feel like a pirate, because I already want to walk the plank. Look, I'm not going to dwell on this too long. People have been roasting this game for the 6 or so years it sat in development hell, but I do just have to say, what on earth were you thinking, Ubisoft? What a fundamental misunderstanding of what people enjoy about this sort of fantasy. Being a pirate means conquering land and sea, not one or the other. The appeal of the whole pirate shtick is adventure, and while I'm sure there's an audience out there for a naval battle simulator, I'm pretty sure they're all off playing World of Tanks already, so I don't really know what the whole point of this game is. I mean, did you look at the Pirates of the Caribbean movies and think, oh, I get it. Boats! You designed half a game. You've got the boat, sure, but you've left out any of the actual pirate stuff. It's like you wouldn't design a game about ancient historical assassins and then leave out the assassinating part, would you? You wouldn't do that, Ubisoft. Please tell me you wouldn't. They've kept delaying this game, trying to figure out why no one's interested in it, when we've all been screaming the answer at them for years. Boats! I mean, don't get me wrong, it's way too late to fix it, but still. Skull and Bones could have been the pirate game we've all been waiting for, but I suppose we should have known better than to trust a company with a workplace culture that rivals Blizzard. So here we are, right? Back at square one, forced to accept that the pirate game we all want so badly might never come to fruition. It's a sad reality, but we've lived in it for so long that it's about time that we accept it. That's the sentiment that exists on the internet these days, and it makes me sad. There just isn't a pirate game out there that can live up to our high expectations. There's so much potential for a game in this genre out there, but it just hasn't been capitalized on yet. Maybe it never will. For now, all we can do is wait and hope. Hope that maybe one day someone picks up their cutlass and carves out a pirate adventure that truly lives up to our high standards. Oh wait, there is also... Why does no one talk about this game? I'm led to believe it's pretty popular, it's got a huge number of people that have played it and a fairly active community, but no one seems to want to talk about it. So let's start from the beginning, and to do that we've got to rewind a bit. Sea of Thieves was revealed by Microsoft at E3 2015 with a great little trailer that, despite lacking the spectacle of the Skull and Bones cinematic that would follow it 2 years later, was much more effective in my opinion. It opens on the bright and beautiful sun, and through a slow build we revealed a vast open world filled with picturesque islands, beautiful seas, and most importantly, other players to explore them with. It was revealed to be made by Rare, a great pick for a light-hearted swashbuckling vibe, and what do you know? You can get off the boat in this one. I didn't know that was a luxury at the time, but hindsight is 2020. This reveal and the trailers that would follow it in the almost 3 years leading up to its release showed off everything that you could want in one of these games. It had ship combat, it had treasure hunting, it had sword fighting and tavern drinking, and it had the Kraken. It was clear that Rare had a firm grasp of what needed to be done to make a pirate game, but more importantly, it just sort of had this magic quality to it. The art style was so unique and so beautiful, the music carried an equal sense of adventure and danger, and you could actually get off the boat in this one, which I know I did just mention, but like I said, it is a luxury. So with all that going for it, what could go wrong? Well, nothing actually, but sort of nothing could go right for it either. Sea of Thieves officially released in March of 2018, and the general consensus of everyone who played it was, cool. What else? It was just a little half-baked. It wasn't buggy or unfinished or anything, there just wasn't much to do. Like, it looked beautiful, it played alright, controlling a ship was fun, digging up treasure was as well, but there just wasn't really much point. Apart from buying cosmetics with your gold, there was only one central objective for the game, and that was to reach level 50 in all 3 of the major factions to become a pirate legend. That would be fine and all, but there just wasn't much variation in what you'd be doing to get there. There were only 3 mission types, and although they'd take you to different places, you were just sort of doing the same very basic activities over and over again. Also, it was so slow to grind through. The first person to make it a pirate legend was playing non-stop and using some controversial methods to get there, and they only made it in a little under 2 weeks. Imagine what that grind would be like for someone who was just playing casually. Sea of Thieves had so much potential, but on launch it was just too underbaked. The activities just didn't seem very fun. There was only so many times you could swipe at skeletons and eat bananas until it just wasn't that interesting anymore. So in a way, we sort of got the pirate game that we were looking for, but it was just sort of a disappointment. Our story doesn't end there though. This is a tale of redemption. The issues with this game have since been ironed out. Through years of fresh and exciting content updates, the main issue that once plagued the game, that there just wasn't much to do, could not be further from the truth anymore. Sea of Thieves is a comeback story, much like No Man's Sky and the original Destiny. It managed to build itself back up from a poor critical response at launch, and since then it's just been knocking it out of the park with new content updates. Yet, for some reason, it doesn't seem to be acknowledged like its counterparts are. Maybe I exist in an echo chamber, but when I see people talk about games like Skull and Bones, they tend to do what I've been doing all video. You know, they act like there isn't a perfect pirate game out there already. They talk about how it's a shame that Skull and Bones isn't looking so hot because there's so much untapped potential in that genre, and brother, I gotta tell you, that potential is well and truly tapped. It will forever be one of the greatest sorrows of my life that Sea of Thieves isn't talked about like the greats of the MMO genre. Fortnite, Final Fantasy XIV, and Destiny, they're all regarded as your typical success stories for this sort of game, and that makes me sad. Not because they're bad games, but just because this game deserves that level of esteem as well. It also sucks because I think if Sea of Thieves had have launched a year later, it would have been the most popular game to ever exist. On its anniversary, Rare released an update that pretty much fixed every single issue that existed with it on launch, and if that was when people got their hands on it, man, we would be living in a different world. The pirate game we've all been waiting for, the one that was prophesized, the one where you can get off the boat, it's here, and I gotta tell you, it's better than we could have ever imagined.
Yeah?
So now we reach the part of the video where I actually talk about the game itself. If you had no idea what Sea of Thieves was when you started this video and you're still watching for some reason, I apologize. I probably haven't done a real great job of explaining things. Let me get you up to speed. Sea of Thieves works like this. You wake up in a bar and then you go do pirate things. Pretty simple, right? Well, at first. When you load into the game, the seas are truly your oyster, and I have to say, that's a nice looking oyster you've got there. Treasure is the name of the game, and the more you've got, the better you are. You can use it to buy a whole host of nice looking pirate clothing and ship cosmetics that aren't quite as nice as the stuff in the paid shop admittedly, and this simple loot keeps you going for the majority of your playtime. On top of that, selling your loot to the game's collective of factions grants you a whole bunch of their own specialty rewards. You can start a quest from your captain's table that can help get you started on your pirate adventure, and they improve in quality just as your standing with each faction does as well. What's more, and I mentioned this earlier on, is that if you're able to reach level 50 with 3 of the factions, you'll become a pirate legend, which grants you access to new quests, new areas, and some of the finest and most prestigious cosmetics and loot in the game. For the sake of this video, even though if you were going to play this game from scratch, you would almost certainly have this spoiled for you, I'm not going to show any of the Pirate Legend stuff, because for me a lot of the incentive to get there was to see what mysterious novelties awaited for me behind the curtains. So those are your main goals of sorts, but I also told you that they were the goals when the game first launched, and no one really seemed to like them much back then, so what's changed? Well, at launch you pretty much had 3 options for adventure. You either exported a bunch of cargo between outposts, you followed some X marks the spots on a treasure map, or you fought skeletons in some pretty bare bones combat. Yeah, you might stumble along some other players or the Kraken, but that was the extent of adventure. How did they fix it? Well, they just sort of threw a bunch of crap at the wall and it worked. Since the game launched in 2018, they've just been adding so much stuff for people to do. There are story missions now, and crazy skeleton forts, and boss battles, and fleets of ghost ships, and underwater temples, and queued PvP, and an in-depth fishing minigame, and hell, there's even a set of missions with Davy Jones and every Twitch streamer's favourite dead horse. This game has so much stuff to do, and when you lower the flags, raise your anchor and leave the docks, it's all open for you. Honestly, from the first moment you set foot on another island, you're going to have stuff to do for the rest of your playtime, because this game just keeps throwing it at you. There is quite literally always something on the horizon for you to do. Whether that's a fort full of skeletons, a vault of unclaimed treasure, or a fight with a Megalodon, adventure is always calling. And that's the most important thing. Adventure is always calling. And that right there, that's the pirate fantasy. Not boats, adventure. That's why I think this game appeals to everyone, and it's certainly why I love it so much. Part of what has made Sea of Thieves into such a great game is definitely the large number of things there are to do, but more than that, I think it's that it allows you to approach it on your own terms. Some of the most critically acclaimed games of the last decade are so beloved because of exactly that. Breath of the Wild and Elden Ring are both so popular because when you set out into their worlds, you're free to approach the game whichever way you like. In Breath of the Wild, if you want to go and kill Ganon with a stick, you can go and do that. In fact, more power to you. In Sea of Thieves, if you want to go and take down the prestigious Fort of the Damned with a tiny little sloop and a dream, you can do that as well. The game is open for you to approach it in whichever way you please. That's part of what makes PvP so fun. People approach it in different ways. Some choose to use their cannons, some people try and invade the other ship, and some just go kamikaze and try and take the other player down with them. In fact, I'd just say that that's the best part of an MMO, when a game allows you to approach it in different ways. There are people out there that just like digging for gold and that's all they do. There are people out there that just like PvP, so that's all they do. And it warms my heart to know that there's a portion of the community out there that just likes to fish, and so that's all they do. And that's so awesome! There's nothing more exciting to me than stumbling across another player in this game and just observing whatever weird crap they're doing. I've seen players go on a warpath to kill everyone, and I've seen players just try and make as many friends as they possibly can. It's this approach to gameplay that makes the game fun for almost everyone in my opinion, but in fairness, I know that there are definitely some people out there that this might concern. As much as some people don't like to admit it, there's a reason that the Assassin's Creed games are popular, and it's not because the people that play them are dumb and stupid, it's because map marker driven content just works for some people. I completely understand and respect that some people like having a set list of objectives to complete, and that's where I think Sea of Thieves also shines. I mean, right from the get-go you've got quests to guide you, but the game is also constantly letting you know about the options available to you, and although it's a bit more subtle than map markers, I think it still works for people that like those sorts of games. Like I said earlier, there is always something on the horizon. Literally, there are constantly clouds and other sorts of signs off in the distance letting you know about things going on in the world. See a skull in the clouds? There's a pirate fort active for you to try and conquer. See a red tornado off in the distance? There's a boss battle for you to try and be the first to beat. See a player fishing alone on the shores of an island? Leave them alone. Don't you dare hurt them. These things off in the distance aren't map markers per se, but they do mark your map. They provide the same service, but in a more realistic way. Skeletons will randomly appear that can drop treasure maps and keys to chests. Messages and bottles will wash up on shores that can take you to another island or the deepest depths of the ocean. And there's a whole host of loot scattered all about the place for you to try and find and take for yourself. If that's not enough to satisfy those looking for a bit more of a curated experience, there's also a massive list of achievements to work towards, and there's a story mode as well with curated high action, big spectacle flair. All of this serves in purpose of letting the player do what they want at their own pace, and none of it, barring some stuff that's just for Pirate Legend, is locked away behind any sort of leveling. There are no skill trees or anything like that in this game. You can't buy a better sword than someone else and start doing more damage than them. Everyone is on equal footing. Someone that just started playing yesterday has equal opportunity to the best loot in the game as someone that's been playing for 5 years, and I think that's fantastic. That sense of freedom, that's how I know that the people making this game know what they're doing. Like I said, that's the pirate fantasy, and it's alive and well in Sea of Thieves. What's the point of this video? I don't know. I think it was supposed to be convincing you to play Sea of Thieves, but I kind of rambled at the start there a bit, so you can really be the judge of that. Somewhere between all the incessant boat slander though, that's what I was trying to say. I think more than anything, I worry that we find ourselves at the whim of the popular narrative a lot, and if you take anything away from this video, it's that more often than not, there exists greener pastures. Every article or video that you see on a pirate game until Ubisoft's masterpiece releases is going to be about Skull and Bones, and I just think that there's a better conversation we could be having. Not about a game that's so obviously going to be bad, but about one that's so obviously already good. It's really just the nature of the internet that all the negative stuff gets pushed to the top. Most of the discussion that you'll see on certain topics is going to be fairly dystopian. Hell, the days are numbered before I start complaining about the MCU on here, but sometimes I do find myself hoping that we could concentrate a bit more on the good than we do the bad. Am I deriving some hidden meaning from this video that isn't really there? Yeah, I don't know, probably. So before r/boats comes for my head, I'll finish by saying this. My name's been Itopher, I hope you play Sea of Thieves, and thanks for watching. I'm gonna go for a fish, and I'll see you next time.
So come set sail as a pirate captain. Our time is almost up, so as we leave, if you want to be a pirate captain, come do it in Season 7 of Sea of Thieves.